Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thomas Fletcher and I'm the host of the Military Social Work Network. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of this channel is to create a community of hope and support where military and aspiring military social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. Alright, so welcome back. We are continuing our series of Black History Month military leaders. In today's episode, we will be talking about the life and service of the first Black Brigadier General of the Air Force. And that is Benjamin O. Davis Jr. Yes, this is the son of Benjamin O. Davis Sr. that we talked about in the last episode. So, Benjamin Oliver Davis Jr. was born in December 18, 1912, and he lived until July 4th, 2002. General Davis was a United States Air Force general and commander of the World War II Tuskegee Airmen. He was the first Black Brigadier General in the United States Air Force. On December 9, 1998, he was advanced to 4-star general by President Bill Clinton. During World War II, Davis was commander of the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group, which escorted bombers on air combat missions over Europe. Davis flew 60 missions in P-39 Curtiss P-40, P-47, and P-51 Mustang fighters. Davis followed in his father's footsteps in breaking racial barriers, as Benjamin O. Davis Sr. was the first Black general in the United States Army. So let's go over his biography. So Benjamin Oliver Davis Jr. was born in Washington, D.C. on December 18, 1912, the second of 3 children born to Benjamin O. Davis Sr. and Eleanora Dickerson Davis. His father was a U.S. Army officer, and at the time he was stationed in Wyoming, serving as a lieutenant with an all-white cavalry unit. Benjamin O. Davis Sr. served 41 years before he was promoted to Brigadier General in October 1940. Eleanora Davis died from complications after giving birth to their third child, Eleanora, in 1916. At the age of 13, in the summer of 1926, the younger Davis went for a flight with a barnstorming pilot at Bowling Field in Washington, D.C. The experience led him to his determination to become a pilot himself. After attending the University of Chicago, he entered the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York in 1932. He was sponsored by Representative Oscar DePriest of Chicago at the time, the only Black member of Congress. During the 4 years of his academy term, Davis was racially isolated by his white classmates, few of whom spoke to him outside the line of duty. He never had a roommate. He ate by himself. His classmates hoped that this would drive him out of the academy. The silent treatment had the opposite effect. It made Davis more determined to graduate. Nevertheless, he earned the respect of his classmates, as evidenced by the biographical note beneath his picture in the 1936 yearbook, The Howitzer. The courage, tenacity, and intelligence with which he conquered a problem incomparably more difficult than plebe year won for him the sincere admiration of his classmates, and his single-minded determination to continue in his chosen career cannot fail to inspire respect wherever fortune may lead him. Wow. That's what his classmates wrote about him. He graduated in 1936, 35th in a class of 276. He was the Academy's 4th Black graduate after Henry Osoyan Flipper, who graduated in 1877, John Hanks Alexander, who graduated also in 1887, and Charles Young, who graduated in 1889. When he was commissioned as a second lieutenant, the Army only had 2 black officers who weren't chaplains. His father, Benjamin O. Davis Sr., and Benjamin O. Davis Jr. himself. After graduation, he married Agatha Scott. At the start of his junior year at West Point, Davis had applied for the Army Air Corps, but was rejected because it did not accept blacks. He was instead assigned to the all-black 24th Infantry Regiment, one of the original Buffalo Soldier regiments, at Fort Benning, Georgia. He was not allowed inside the base officers' club. He later attended the U.S. Army Infantry School at Fort Benning and then was assigned to teach military tactics at Tuskegee Institute, a historically black college in Tuskegee, Alabama. This was something his father had done years before as a way for the Army to avoid having a black officer in command of white soldiers. Early in 1941, the Roosevelt administration, in response to public pressure for greater black participation in the military as war approached, ordered the War Department to create a black flying unit. Captain Davis was assigned to the first training class at Tuskegee Army Airfield, hence the name Tuskegee Airmen, and in March 1942 earned his wings as one of 5 black officers to complete the course. He was the first black officer to solo an Army Air Corps aircraft. In July that year, having been promoted to lieutenant colonel, he was named commander of the 1st All-Black Air Unit, the 99th Pursuit Squadron. The squadron, equipped with Curtiss P-40 fighters, was sent to Tunisia in North Africa in the spring of 1943. On June 2nd, they saw combat for the first time in a dive-bombing mission against the German-held island of Pantelleria as part of Operation Corkscrew. The squadron later supported the Allied invasion of Sicily. In September 1943, Davis was deployed to the United States to take command of the 332nd Fighter Group, a larger all-black unit preparing to go overseas. Soon after his arrival, there was an attempt to stop the use of black pilots in combat. Senior officers in the Army Air Forces recommended to the Army Chief of Staff, General George Marshall, that the 99th, which was Davis's old unit, be removed from combat operations as it performed poorly. This infuriated Davis, as he had never been told of any deficiencies with the unit. He held a news conference at the Pentagon to defend his men and then presented his case to a War Department committee studying the use of black servicemen. Marshall ordered an inquiry but allowed the 99th to continue fighting in the meantime. The inquiry eventually reported that the 99th performance was comparable to other air units, but any questions about the squadron's fitness were answered in January 1944, when its pilots shot down 12 German planes in 2 days while protecting the Anzio beachhead. Colonel Davis and his 332nd Fighter Group arrived in Italy. Soon after that, the four squadron group, which was called the Red Tails for the distinctive markings of its planes, were based at Ramitelli Airfield and flew many missions deep into German territory. By summer of 1944, the group had transitioned to P-47 Thunderbolts. In the summer of 1945, Davis took over the all-black 477th Bombardment Group, which was stationed at Godman Field, Kentucky. During the war, the airmen commanded by Davis had compiled an outstanding record in combat against the Luftwaffe. They flew more than 15,000 sorties, shot down 112 enemy planes, and destroyed or damaged 273 on the ground at a cost of 66 of their own planes, and losing only about 25 bombers. Davis himself led dozens of missions in P-47 Thunderbolts and P-51 Mustangs. He received the Silver Star for a strafing run into Austria and a Distinguished Flying Cross for a bomber escort mission to Munich on June 9th, 1944. In July 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed Executive Order 9981, ordering the racial integration of the armed forces. Colonel Davis helped draft the Air Force plan for implementing this order. The Air Force was the first of the services to integrate fully. Davis attended Air War College, served at the Pentagon, and in overseas posts over the next 2 decades. Noteworthy is that during his time at the Pentagon, he drafted the staffing package and gained approval to create the Air Force Thunderbird Flight Demonstration Team. He again saw combat in 1953 when he assumed command of the 51st Fighter Interceptor Wing and flew an F-86 Sabre in Korea. He served as Director of Operations and Training at Far East Air Force's headquarters, Tokyo, from 1954 until 1955, when he assumed the position of Vice Commander, 13th Air Force, with additional duty as Commander of Air Task Air Force 13, Taipei, Taiwan. During his time in Tokyo, he was temporarily promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. In April 1957, General Davis arrived at Ramstein Air Base, Germany, as Chief of Staff of 12th Air Force, United States Air Forces in Europe. When the 12th Air Force was transferred to James Connolly Air Force Base, Texas, in December 1957, he assumed new duties as Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations Headquarters, U.S. Air Forces in Europe, Wiesbaden Air Base, Germany. While in Germany, he was temporarily promoted to Major General in 1959, and his promotion to Brigadier General was made permanent in 1960. In July 1961, he returned to the United States and headquarters U.S. Air Force, where he served as the Director of Manpower and Organization, Deputy Chief of Staff for Programs and Requirements, having his promotion to Major General made permanent early the next year. And in February 1965, he was assigned as Assistant Deputy Chief of Staff, Programs and Requirements. He remained in that position until his assignment as Chief of Staff for the United Nations Command and U.S. Forces in Korea in April 1965, at which time he was promoted to Lieutenant General. He assumed command of the 13th Air Force at Clark Air Base in the Republic of the Philippines in August 1967. Davis was assigned as Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Strike Command with headquarters at McGill Air Force Base, Florida, in 1968, with additional duty as Commander-in-Chief of Middle East, South Asia, and Africa. He retired from active military service on February 1st, 1970. On December 9th, 1998, Davis Jr. was promoted to General. U.S. Air Force retired, with President Bill Clinton pinning on his 4-star insignia. In the late 1980s, he began to work on his autobiography, Benjamin O. Davis Jr., American, an autobiography. All right, well, I'm going to stop here. I really believe that even though his father laid the groundworks, Benjamin O. Davis Sr. Laid the groundworks for his son. I feel like his son has an even more inspirational story than his father did. But either way, they're both very inspirational men. And again, I think that both of their stories are inspirational, and that's why I decided to cover them, because one of the purposes of this channel is to inspire. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. For all the social workers out there, thank you for the work that you do every day for your clients, for your agency, and for the profession. Please continue to support each other and yourselves. Bye for now.